Coming up on KCCI 8 News Close Up, the 2026 race for Iowa's 4th congressional district is heating up. What names to expect on the ballot in the Republican primary, and why one Democrat hopes to ramp up the momentum for her party in this historically Republican district.
This is Iowa's news leader. This is KCCI 8 News Close Up.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us for KCCI 8 News Close Up. I'm Chief Political Reporter Amanda Rooker. Today, we're focusing on Iowa's 4th congressional district, which has been reliably Republican. It covers much of western Iowa, and it also includes Boone, Story, and Marshall counties. Republican incumbent Randy Feenstra was first elected in 2020. Before that, Republican Steve King was elected in 2002 to the area, which was Iowa's 5th district that became obsolete after Iowa lost a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. King was redistricted and re-elected to lead District 4 in 2012. A Democrat hasn't held the office since Neil Smith lost re-election back in 1994. Now, Feenstra is weighing a run for governor instead. That would trigger a wide-open race for his congressional seat. House Majority Leader Matt Winchittle launched his campaign. He has a long track record at the Iowa State House. And Siouxland Chamber President Chris McGowan has a deep business background. Kyle Larson does not have experience in public office, but says he's entering the race to be the leading voice for Iowa agriculture. Larson is a farmer and a land appraiser. Ashley Wolf Tornabane is currently the only Democrat in the race after Ryan Melton suspended his campaign. She doesn't have experience in government and describes herself as a stay-at-home mom and everyday Iowan. Kyle Larson just launched his campaign last week. I traveled to his 3rd-generation farm in Humboldt County to hear about why he wants to go from the farm to Washington to represent Iowa's 4th district. Well, thanks so much for making time to chat. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Why did you decide that right now is the time for you to run for Congress?
I stepped into the race because rural Iowa and the District 4 needs an honest voice that cares about Iowa agriculture in rural Iowa every day and every night. Not just someone that thinks about it or says it to get the vote. Someone that has lived a life, lived in rural Iowa, walked beside them, worked in the Blue Cross environment, farms every day, cares about the family farm every day, and doesn't just say it. And another reason why I'm getting in is because rural Iowa and District 4 is sick and tired of lifelong politicians and insiders saying what we need and how we should farm, how we should do it, and what is best for us. And this pipeline issue is a perfect example of insiders and lifelong politicians trying to tell District 4 what's best for them. And rural District 4 is sick and tired of it.
Could you share a little bit about your background, both personally and professionally?
Personally, I grew up right here in the Humboldt County area. Grew up as a little kid on this farm. This farm right here is a 3rd-generation farm. It's not the biggest, not the flashiest, but it's real. And that's dear to me and dear to my family. I'm thankful that after college, where I met my wife, we moved back right here. And I'm thankful that my 2 little girls get to live in rural Iowa just like I did, go to the same church I did, have the same Sunday school program I did, and eventually the same confirmation program I had, because church and religious freedoms is so important in this district, and I can relate so deeply to that. Some simple things we need to remember and think about when it comes to Iowa and Iowa District 4 is we are #1 in farmers in the district, in the whole U.S. and all congressional districts. We produce the most corn, the most soybeans, the most pigs, the most eggs. And that is why it's so important that someone from District 4 has a loud voice for agriculture, lives it and thinks it every day, and doesn't just say it to get the easy vote.
As a farmer and someone who has experience in the agriculture industry, if you were in Congress, what would you do differently than someone who is a politician who says they represent agriculture but doesn't have that farming background?
So for me, this is easy and straightforward. We have to be on the U.S. House Ag Committee as representatives of Iowa. The other ones are on it, but we have to fight to make sure that we can chair a subcommittee, and maybe if we play our cards right, actually chair the committee. And I get on day one as a freshman, I won't get that opportunity, but I will fight to make sure our voice is heard.
If you were elected, what are the top priorities that you would want to accomplish in Congress?
So as we talked about, the Farm Bill is so important. The Farm Bill I get is an elephant in the room. It's a very tough thing to tackle as a freshman congressman. I get that. But one thing I can express and talk from personal experience is that there's the death tax. We have to remove the death tax completely, especially for rural Iowa and rural America, because the death tax is a hindrance on hardworking multi-generational families. So there's multiple things we need to accomplish, and we need to work with Donald Trump and help champion his bill and help champion his agenda. I support the big beautiful bill, and I agree it maybe isn't perfect, but it did so many things for rural Iowa and the Iowa economy as a whole. Something I want to accomplish that we could, work together and get a bill pushed in to help, as Donald Trump agrees, we need to bring manufacturing back to Iowa. So the Iowa economy does have a base. The ag economy is what makes our economy roar. But when that roars, we then have manufacturing. And I agree with the America First agenda. We need to get manufacturing back into Iowa and get more in Iowa. Perfect example is we have Jetco right here in Humboldt, where they make side dumps and grain hoppers that haul our grain to market. It's products made right here, and I want to make sure those local companies that are working hard to thrive in rural Iowa can keep thriving. Because you know what those manufacturers bring is they bring more jobs to rural Iowa. Rural Iowa is more than just farmers. There's people that work good blue-collar jobs, and I want to make sure those have opportunities to thrive.
What's your message if you were to talk to the voters of Iowa's 4th District? What do you want them to know about you and why you feel that you're the best candidate in this race?
I'm honest, I'm real. I walk side by side with you. I'm happy to come listen to your coffee shop conversations, town halls. I love listening to your concerns, going, I understand. Having the far left try to come banter at me, I will listen, but I will always stand with you and stand for you because I lived your life and I care about your life every day.
Well, Kyle Larson, thank you so much for making time to chat. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
When we come back, the experience another candidate, Chris McGowan, brings to the table and how his background in economic development is shaping his campaign priorities. Welcome back to Close Up. Sioux City native Chris McGowan has spent 22 years doing economic development work in his community. He says that strong business background and generational ties to Northwest Iowa have equipped him to represent District 4 in Washington. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm very happy to be here.
You're running for Congress. What made you decide that this is the moment for you to run to represent Iowans in Washington?
Well, Amanda, I've always believed that the founders had a vision, and that vision called for individuals to complete careers or have lengthy careers, have a vocation, and develop some experience and some expertise, and then come and contribute to a legislative body. At 58 years old, I'm nearing the end of my professional career, and there was a unique opportunity to change the service I've been performing in economic development to focus on perhaps representing the constituents in Iowa 4, the voters in Iowa 4 in Washington, D.C., so I'm excited to have the opportunity.
Tell me a little bit more about yourself, your professional and your personal background.
So I'm from Sioux City. I graduated from Heelan High School in 1985. I wrestled at St. John's University, and I know that the state of Iowa is passionate about wrestling, and I share that passion. After college, I enlisted in the Iowa Air National Guard, and I spent a little bit of time in Officer Candidate School and Flight School. I then went into Fortune 500 sales for a period of time before matriculating in law school. And at 32 years old, I became a non-traditional student, earned a law degree, going to school full-time for 3 years. And I decided, although I had sat for the bar exam and passed the bar exam, and I've maintained a law license for 20 years, I decided that I was going to go into economic development and try and make a difference in Sioux City and in the Siouxland metro area. And that's what I've been doing for the last 2 decades.
What makes you now want to make the transition to public office?
You know, this is an opportunity to serve my community and Northwest Iowa, Central Iowa, in a new way. And after 22 years doing economic development work, I've spent an awful lot of time in Washington lobbying for issues that are important to our community. And I believe that I can be a very strong ally and advocate for the voters in Northwest Iowa by serving in Washington, D.C.
If you were elected, what would your top 3 priorities be?
Well, I think that first and foremost, we have to focus on national defense. The first and foremost responsibility of government, and especially our federal government, is the protection of citizens. So national security is first and foremost. Secondly, a robust national economy. I've spent my career focused on tax climate, regulatory environment, doing everything that I can to promote capital investment in my community. We've ranked over a dozen, number 1 in the nation over a dozen times in the Siouxland Metro. I'm very, very proud of that. I do believe I have a lot to contribute as it relates to recruiting business and supporting business. And then finally, agriculture and small business. As a chamber executive, I've been very focused on value-added agriculture, doing what we can to make sure that the business climate will support our products and making sure that they can get into markets around the world for good prices for those who produce products and agricultural goods.
How would your approach to representing Iowa's 4th District be similar or be different to the leadership of Randy Feenstra?
Well, I think every elected official brings unique characteristics and skills to the office. In my case, we're going to focus on my background in education. As I said, I'm an economic development professional. I'm a lawyer by education, but I've never practiced law. I've maintained a license in this state for over 20 years. And I'm a military veteran. I'm going to focus on those areas where I have great experience and hopefully a little bit of expertise, and I'd like to bring that experience to Washington, D.C. and make valuable contributions on behalf of Iowans.
What is your pitch to the Iowans of the 4th Congressional District on why you're the best candidate in the race?
I think that Iowans understand that they need a strong voice in Washington, D.C. Someone who's not afraid to stand up and fight some of the radical elements that are emerging in our country at this time. I've spent 20 years standing up for Iowans. I have the background, I have the education, and I have the experience to be that voice, and I certainly hope that they will support me in the primary next June.
Well, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Another candidate who wants the Republican nomination has decades of experience in state government. Next, how Matt Winchell says that knowledge will benefit Iowans on Capitol Hill. Welcome back. Matt Winchell says his legislative experience sets him apart in a growing field of Republicans who all want to serve Iowa's 4th congressional district. Winchell was first elected to the Iowa House at the age of 22, and he's quickly rose through the ranks to House Majority Leader. I talked to him about why he wants to bring that experience to Congress. Thanks for making time to chat with us. We really appreciate it.
Happy to, Amanda. Thank you.
Why are you running for Congress, and why right now?
You know, running for Congress was never on my bingo card. I've had a lot of people approach me over my 19 going on 20 years in service in the State House and say, hey, when are you going to D.C.? And I've always just been like, no, not my game, right? But as the political landscape in Iowa is shifting, a lot of people reached out to me after Congressman Feenstra, who's doing a fantastic job, has started his endeavor to run for governor. And a lot of people throughout the 4th who I've known, I've represented 3 different districts, but I've known so many different people, had so many different constituents, just reach out and say, would you at least consider it? And I know that the constituents of Iowa 4 need a proven leader, somebody that has been able to take on different challenges, has a track record of success. And I can point to all of those different things that I've done over 19 years. Not everybody's going to agree with me 100%, but like, I've been there, I've been in the trenches. And so what God laid on my heart was, you've got a heart of service, continue to put yourself out there, and then it's going to be up to the voters of Iowa 4.
For voters who may not know you yet, what do you want voters to know about your background and what drives you?
It goes back to my heart of service. I've been sworn an oath to the Constitution since I was 17 years old when I first joined the Marine Corps, right out of high school, right? And it's about putting yourself out there. When God imbues you with talents, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, I'm not, but when God imbues you with certain talents, you need to exercise those talents. And so I want to continue to serve Iowans in this capacity, but also all Americans.
If you were elected, what would your top priorities be in Congress?
Well, there's quite a few different things that are out there right now, all right? One of them is going to be national security. And the President and Congress have done a really good job in trying to secure our borders nationally, but it's also a global picture. Like, we have to make sure we are continuing to be the dominant force on the globe. We are the people that stand up for our allies. We have to make sure that our agricultural community is taken care of. And I'm not a farmer, but I've got a lot of constituents that are farmers. I've talked with them, I've done farm tours, I'm going to be doing some more. Just trying to help understand what those issues are and how we can continue to be the best agricultural state and feed the world. And then, you know, as a veteran myself, I understand the veterans' issues, and I've gone through my own battles with the VA before. And trust me, I'm not going to tell you all the horror stories, but it's not easy. And our veterans need to be taken care of. And I'm not saying that they're being failed right now, but just my own personal experiences and talking with other veterans, I understand that there are improvements that need to be made. And then another component is the national debt. I got 2 daughters, 18 and 20, and you look at $37 trillion in debt. We're saddling the next generations with so much burden. We have to tackle that issue. And I know it's difficult and I don't have a silver bullet solution, but I want to go out and I want to do what I've always done. I want to be part of the solution. I want to help move those things forward.
What are you the proudest of what you've accomplished in the Iowa House?
I've been doing this so long, there's so many things that I'm proud of. Protecting the unborn, we've made massive strides from the first time that I started in office to where we're at now to protect the unborn. We have made massive strides to restore Second Amendment freedoms to Iowans. Cutting taxes is going to be another one. I mean, people said, you guys can't cut taxes the way that you're doing. It's too aggressive. The budget will never stand up for that. Well, guess what? It's working. We're down to a 3.8% flat tax here in Iowa, and our budget is working just fine. We're funding the priorities of Iowans. We're helping make sure they've got good infrastructure, good schools, good healthcare systems, good law enforcement. All of those things are accomplishments that, yes, I am proud of, but it is a collaborative effort. I can't take credit for any singular issue because I'm just one vote out of 150.
If you were to talk to the voters of Iowa's 4th District, what message do you want them to hear on why you think you're the best candidate in this race?
I've got a heart of service. I've got a track record of proven leadership. I'm a conservative. They know me, they've seen me, and I will point to my record and stand on my record every day.
Well, Matt Winchell, thank you so much for making time to chat. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Filling the gap, why the only Democrat in the race for District 4 says she's up for the challenge. Next, how Ashley Wolf Tornabene is focusing her campaign on some of the most vulnerable groups of Iowans. Welcome back to Close Up. Today we're focusing in on Iowa's 4th congressional district. Republican incumbent Randy Feenstra is considering a run for governor instead of re-election in 2026. 3 other Republicans have launched campaigns setting up a Republican primary. Now, the district has had a Republican leader for more than a decade. Feenstra beat Democrat Ryan Melton in a rematch of 2022 by about 34 points. Melton launched and then suspended his campaign for 2026. That encouraged stay-at-home mom Ashley Wolf Tornabene to launch her own campaign last week.
Why are you running for Congress right now? What made you decide to get into the race?
We all look around and we see Iowans and the rest of the country hurting while the rich get richer and the rest of us just get left behind. And I've been taught my whole life by my parents and by Sunday school that we help people in need. And for a long time, I felt called to help people in need by serving in public office. But I thought it was going to have to be much later in life since I'm a mom. But when Ryan Melton had to unfortunately suspend his campaign, I felt that it was really important to get a candidate to pick up, a progressive candidate to pick up where he left off, so we don't lose our momentum that he has worked so hard to attain. And so it felt like God was telling me the time is now to help people in this way.
What do you want voters to know about your background and what drives you?
Right. Well, right now I am a stay-at-home mom due to some very tight budgeting. But before that, I was an instructional assistant at my public school district, and that taught me a lot about the needs of the public education system. And before that, I had the privilege of helping guide young people through their faith journey, the beginning of their faith journey, as the director of Christian education at the church I grew up in and still belong to. And so, no, I don't have the experience that some of the people currently in Congress have, but a lot of that experience they have is in serving special interests. And so I'm an everyday person. I'm really going to listen to everyday people, and I'm not going to serve the special interests. I'm going to serve you.
What are your top priorities that you would want to accomplish in Congress if you were elected?
We need to rebuild public education, which is under attack right now. We need to rebuild small towns, and we need to provide rural health care and protect the vulnerable, such as those in the LGBTQ plus community who are under attack. And we need to create a feasible pathway to citizenship, which we've been close to in the past, but it seems that some people want to keep that as an issue to run on. But my biggest priority is that we need to provide healthcare to all in America, all of the US citizens, like the happiest countries on earth have. Anyone who tries to make us afraid of that type of healthcare, saying that the taxes are too high or the wait times are too long, we know that these happy countries have it and they're still the happiest. And the United States isn't even in the top 20. And so we know that those fear tactics about publicly funded universal healthcare are just that. They're fear tactics. And they must be speaking, if these people are in public office, they're speaking for the private insurance companies rather than for the everyday people they're supposed to be representing.
You're running in Iowa's most Republican district. How do you plan to win over not only Democratic voters, but also Republican and independent voters?
The last two Democrats who have run in this district have received 30 to 37% of the vote, so about 1 in 3 voters. And those 1 in 3 voters matter to me, and I'm happy to be giving them a voice they feel comfortable, they'll hopefully feel comfortable with voting for. But I also do want to speak with people from rural Iowa, people who may be Republican, people who may be independent, people who maybe only vote in the presidential election, and let them know that we have an opportunity to help ourselves, to create a happier, healthier Iowa by electing someone who is going to represent them instead of the special interests and the billionaires.
If you were to talk to voters in Iowa's 4th district, what's your message to them on why they should vote for you?
I am going to listen to you, and I'm going to bring you along on this journey to help make Iowa a happier, healthier place. We can make it better together, and I'll do that by listening to you and working for you instead of working for the billionaires like so many in Congress already are.
Thank you so much again for making time to chat. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll see you back here next Sunday. Have a great day.